We don't want to hear about you not spending money on women. We get it. You're broke. Ma'am, just because he doesn't want to spend his money on you does not make him broke.
What happened to men just shutting the up and going to work every time? It's a podcast. It's a meme. It's a stream. Take y'all ass to work and shut the up. Y'all talk too damn much about nothing. About how y'all ain't giving the women no money. We don't want to hear it, okay? We don't want to hear it. Okay, you broke. We got it. Like, please. I'm tired of the think pieces. I'm tired of it. Damn, just be quiet.
Now, you see that right there? To all of the fellas, it's time we had a conversation. See, this is proof positive that we actually won. Now, you're probably saying, won what? The gender war, right? Now, a lot of people are going to pretend like there isn't a gender war, but it wasn't until we came to the internet that we saw clearly that there is one. Now, why is she acting like this? Why am I saying that we won? Well, the fact that they are this bothered lets you know that we won. Not only does it let you know that we won, but it lets you know that we're continuing to win. Because what her problem is, along with a lot of other women that, think the way she thinks, she wants us to go back to being the sacrificial males that were useful in a utilitarian way. In other words, she's basically telling you, shut up, stop having a backbone, stop voicing your opinions, stop saying what you will and won't accept. Basically, stop being a human being. We need you to go back to being the men that you used to be, the men that accepted all of their verbal abuse quietly, the men that sacrificed for their family, worked all the time, never bought yourself anything, never did anything for yourself, but you just endured all of that until the day you died. And then after you died, her and your children would basically live in the house that you paid for, off of the pension that you accumulated and the Social Security that you should have been getting in your golden years, but can't because you're pushing up daisies. This is what it is. They are so used to us being proverbial slaves that now that we have a voice and we're speaking up, it annoys them. It annoys the hell out of them, despite the fact that they've been running their mouth for the better part of a century, right? For my entire time living, we had to endure The Color Purple. We had to endure how Stella got her groove back, Waiting to Exhale, and then don't even get me started on the Tyler Perry movies that always portray them as victims and men as victimizers, right? And here's the other hilarious thing. They love trying to do this reverse psychology thing. She's like, we don't want to hear about you not spending money on women. We get it. You're broke. Ma'am, just because he doesn't want to spend his money on you does not make him broke. That's a cute trick that you're trying to pull. And for all of you young dudes, I need you to keep this in mind. This is how they try to use your ego in order to get what they want. It's a very manipulative tactic. So what they'll do is they'll try to convince you that if you don't spend any money, it must mean that you're broke. So in order for you to prove to them that you're a man or prove to them that you're masculine, you have to spend your money on them, because then they're gonna recognize your manhood and your masculinity, and it's a psyop. It's fake. Because at the end of the day, you could spend all your money on them. You could buy them a house. You could see children for them, which you also would have to take care of. You could buy her fancy cars, designer bags, designer clothes. You could take her on vacations. You could do all of that stuff. It's not going to guarantee that she's going to treat you with respect and dignity. Okay? It's not going to guarantee that. I don't care what you do, right? If she's not willing to give you respect and treat you like a human being and treat you in a dignified way before you do all of those things, she's probably not going to do it after. Okay? They've been running this game for a very long time. For a very long time. And now that they see the game is over, the jig is up, right? The bank is closed, right? No more free rides. All right. You're actually gonna have to show up with your worth. You're gonna have to show up to the table, the negotiating table. And contrary to popular belief, ma'am, you're not the table. The fact that y'all don't even understand that analogy proves where you're at mentally. Okay. A long time ago, y'all broke the social contract. In other words, you still expect us men to be traditional and do the things that we did back in the day. You want us to be pawpaw, but you don't want to be big mama, right? So you expect us to do all of the traditional things while you live in the modern era and do whatever you want, right? So the moment you did that, you broke the social contract. So men have said, okay, you know what? You don't want to keep up your end of the bargain. Then guess what? We're going to go on strike. We're not going to do those things for you anymore. Now, when you finally start feeling it, and I would imagine y'all are feeling it now, you're just stubborn. You're just stubborn, doubling down, but it's going to get worse because winter is here, right? So what we said is, okay, fine. Once y'all have felt it and understand that we're not playing no damn games, when you come back to the negotiating table, we're going to say, okay, cool. You want us to do X, Y, Z? Then you have to go back to doing what you used to do. You have to go back to submitting, being respectful, doing housework, and not expecting us to do it with you, right? Raising the children properly and behaving like a wife, behaving like a lady. Now, if you do that, we'll go back to doing the things we used to do in the past traditionally, with one caveat. You know what the caveat is? We are not going to allow you to take for granted the fact that we do all of these things. Ain't no more Mother's Day come and we do this whole big celebration, and then Father's Day come and he get a tie. No, we're not doing that no more. We want equal appreciation. The same way the family worships you and kisses your ass, they need to do the same thing for the men. And if you're not going to do that, we're not going to participate. That is the sentiment of all of the men of today. And I don't care how much you whine and complain about it. I don't care how much you jump on the internet, all in your fifis, because you can't get your way, because that's all it is. That's all it is. Y'all are across the internet right now on all kinds of social media throwing a tantrum because you can't get your way. You can no longer get into a relationship with a dude who's going to fund your lifestyle and your dreams while you do whatever the hell you feel like doing and pretend as if you are not obligated to that man, despite the fact he's doing all of those things. Those days are over. And no amount of jumping on the internet with all of your shaming tactics and all of your weak ass arguments is going to change that. The only way you're going to fix this problem is you're going to have to fix you. You're going to have to tighten up, start acting like you got some sense, and stop talking to men crazy, because we don't have to accept it. We don't have to accept it. We're not going for it. And it ain't happening. It ain't happening. So you can go back to being strong and independent, paying your own bills, having a glass of wine just to go to sleep, hang out with your homegirls on Galentine's Day, and continue to be lonely. Because despite the narrative that y'all are trying to push, men are fine with being lonely. Men are not suffering from a loneliness epidemic. In fact, most men would rather be alone than deal with a woman that treats them in a messed up way, takes them for granted, and tries to use them for their resources, protection, and sacrifice. Okay? They're not going for it. And it's like y'all are stuck on stupid. You just don't get it. Men have reached their limit. Have you not been paying attention on the internet for the past 10 years? Men are not going for it. And you can sit here and say, oh, the men are immature. the men don't want to be men. They don't want to get married. They don't want to take care of a woman. They think they're the prize. They want to be a princess. Yo, none of that's going to work. None of it, because we are not our fathers and we are not our grandfathers. You cannot, we are so far from that. See, it used to work because back in the day during the Jim Crow era, they used to talk to black men like they were boys. And so because black men were viewed as less than a man by the overall greater society, those men went out of their way to try to prove to their families that they were men. And the way they did this is they thought they could sacrifice, they could work like a dog, they could come home and give their whole paycheck to their wife. And they thought that by doing that, they would be treated like a man in their own household. But the men of today understand that we don't got to do all of that to be a man. Our masculinity and who we are as a man is not hinged upon your approval. That's the part y'all don't get. You don't get to determine whether we are men or not based on how much money we spend on you, whether we're willing to protect you or not, and whether we're willing to sacrifice our entire lives, happiness, and peace just so you can have a Birkin bag. We don't care about that. We don't care about that. Today, it's about reciprocity. Today, it's about mutual respect. And if you don't understand that, there ain't nothing that we got to talk about.